Let's bring you a live update now. Newzroom Afrika's Ziyanda Ngcobo is live for us at the ANC's headquarters in downtown Johannesburg. Good evening to you, Ziyanda. Is it more of a celebration of the GNU in office, despite the alliance partners not being exactly happy with the status quo?
Well, Xoli, I can tell you that the word celebration is a word that raises the ire of some ANC leaders here, despite what you can see taking place behind us. They've been trying so painfully so throughout the day not to characterize this as a celebration, but rather a commemoration of 100 days in the GNU. And this event is meant to be bringing them closer to the people. Whether or not that is how it's going to be received is a completely different thing altogether, given just how much of contestation there has been around this government of national unity, in particular, as you've already mentioned, with the SACP snubbing this event. Fikile Mbalula speaking earlier on today about how they were meant to have had a bilateral with the SACP, but they chose not to fulfill that particular appointment, and it's now been postponed. Also going as far as saying that, look, you know, this event was, they were extended an invite. They could have come and used the platform to speak whatever they want to speak, even if it was to criticize the ANC. Sorry, just to step out of shot, because we're seeing some of the officials now beginning to make their way towards the stage, the leadership. You'll know that they had a national officials meeting from 2 o'clock today, Xoli, and we expect now that the official program will get underway any moment from now. But certainly in terms of the entire concept of what's happening outside the Tuli House, I mean, you know, the questions asked by the SACP are also questions that journalists have been asking. You know, can you really say you're celebrating 100 years of the GNU? Yes, it's an ANC-led GNU as the ANC characterizes it, but certainly at a political level, a lot of debate has been launched.
Ziyanda, I know there's a lot of noise around you, but I'm hoping that you will be able to hear this next question. What is happening today? And I guess moving on from today, some people are going to start looking at it from the prism of ANC succession, basically December 2027. One of the leaders that's been quite silent on the GNU, and perhaps you might say uncharacteristic of him, is Gwede Mantashe. Could it be because he is a former office bearer in the SACP, and given the standpoint of the SACP right now, or are we again perhaps over-analyzing here?
You know, I really love that question, Xoli, because we were meant to have actually spoken to Gwede Mantashe, and as I speak to you right now, you know, we were told he will speak to us between 5 and 5:30, but then we were told that some are saying he's actually in China, so even his whereabouts at this stage are unknown. And as you say, very uncharacteristic of Gwede Mantashe, even insofar as his characterization of why the ANC would have formed a government of national unity and the political parties that the ANC would have formed this GNU with. I don't recall, maybe I'm wrong, Xoli, and perhaps you can weigh in on this. I don't recall Gwede Mantashe, who is very you know, I'm trying to find the right words. He's quite trite when it comes to how he characterizes things. If you just remember his 2017 diagnostics reports on the state of the organization when he was still Secretary General, he never minces his words. And so I don't quite recall a characterization by Gwede Mantashe of this GNU, and it speaks then to the differing views within the ANC about the GNU, and this talk about, you know, many people not supporting this formation firstly, and how it came to be. There's a lot of ire spoken about in terms of how there wasn't enough consultation, and that's why it's often characterized in political circles as a GNU or an ANC, a Ramaphosa deal, and not an ANC deal. And that has sort of, laid down the foundation, I guess, for that National General Council that is set to take place in June 2025. But more importantly, for that contest in 2027, where there are already talks about succession, and that discussion was firmly underway last week when Fikile Mbalula summoned then Panyaza Lesufi to Luthuli House to come and explain before the national officials about why he's seemingly speaking out against this GNU. So there's a lot happening within the ANC, but again, Xoli, it must not be lost upon us that the ANC only garnered 40% of the vote, and whether or not events like this are going to be useful or actually spark further outrage of people is yet to be seen, especially when it comes to their relationship with the Democratic Alliance and how the leadership is seen or perceived to be betraying the cause.
Ziyanda, very nicely described the silence of Gwede Mantashe, certainly not one to be seen or be described as timid, and so very interesting his silence on this. Any time now, Ziyanda, we are told that the president of the ANC is slated to speak at 6:30. Is he going to make that time, or might we wait a little longer?
Well, at this stage, Xoli, I can tell you we continue to see hundreds of people coming in, not quite the numbers that the thousands that the party had promised, and perhaps then maybe the numbers are also an indication of the kind of support that is being garnered here, but also with the issues of Gauteng, one wonders whether it will be seen as a form of sabotage if they're not able to garner the numbers that they anticipated. Given the current tensions, it would seem they deny it, but given the current tensions between Fikile Mbalula and Panyaza Lesufi, and I'll just step out of shot, Xoli, to show you what is currently taking place, because you can see the numbers, but not quite the numbers you would ordinarily see at an ANC event. And I want to go back then to that point about Panyaza Lesufi and Fikile Mbalula, because they've tried quite a bit even today to downplay this, and it's important because it's a Helen Zille from another political party speaking about internal party matters, describing and characterizing Panyaza Lesufi as a rogue, and you have a Fikile Mbalula who is seen to be using the same language as Helen Zille, even in television interviews, and that is seemingly also upsetting the ground. I mean, just another point, Xoli, that may or may not be something to read into. The city, the region, the ANC region in Johannesburg had its own pickets this afternoon at 4 o'clock to picket for the change in the name of Santon Drive to Leila Khalid. Now, ordinarily for an event such as this one, you have all the branches rallying towards and busing in to one venue. Now, if an ANC in Johannesburg is having its own event so close to the start of this program, one wonders then if the center is still holding.
Ziyanda Ngcobo, live for us outside Luthuli House, and we were just talking about Panyaza Lesufi. You see him there on the stage, and he seems to be hugging the first Deputy Secretary General, Nomvula Mokonyane. I'm trying to make sense of what I'm also seeing there. The man with his back against us. Okay, I thought that was Fikile Mbalula for a moment, but not quite. It's Mr. Mduduzi Manana. And so the ANC marking 100 days of the government of national unity. Lots to read in between the lines, and some very, very interesting points mentioned by Ziyanda there, that not only is the ANC marking this, but whether or not the turnout is going to be exactly what the ANC is looking for, that will be scrutinized very closely, given that it is happening in a province where the leader of the province, Panyaza Lesufi, is seen as being anti-GNU. But of course, they will tell us the official line that everything is hunky-dory. Everyone in the ANC is pulling on one direction.